Baby, I've been dying all over you.
We get lost in the night, in the middle of June. And I finally doubt that you'll die of soon. Give me your love song, baby. Give me your love. Give me your love song. Give me your love. Give me your love song, baby. Give me your love. Give me your love song. Give me your love. All the time we go out, we get lit by the moon. It will be as you like in my blue lagoon. Give me your love song, baby. Give me your love. Give me your love song. Give me your love. Give me your love song, baby.
with a spooky little boy like you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's 2:15. Welcome to PDX. This is the second time we have gathered experts and students and academia to talk about product development. We have a high ambition. We really want to empower product development in general, but also promote the importance we have with the people working in the product development. That's the reason we started. We have a pilot last year, and now we have a second time. We have great keynote speakers here today. We will hear and learn, I hope, a lot from them today. So as I said, we have a high ambition here. We at Design Factory at Aalto, we aim to create and train and produce the world's best product development experts to the industry, not only in Finland, but internationally. My name is Pekka Pokela. I'm a professor of practice at Aalto. I've been here about 1.5 years now. I think it's good now to have applause, with applause, to have Ari to enter the stage from Nokia. Ari joined Nokia in 1995. He has worked in different roles in R&D, sales, product management, business development, actually in every part in your business. So you must know everything, almost. In his current position as Vice President of Strategy and Technology, CTO, he's responsible for creating business technology and partnership strategies and contributing Nokia-level strategy, of course. You have had a Master of Science in Radio Technology with 2 minors, Corporate Strategy and International Business and Economy from Helsinki University of Technology. So this is your university.
Yeah, great to be back.
So, yes. The set is yours.
Thank you. I'm not sure if this is working though, but if it's not, then I can just take this one. All right, like I said, it's great to be back here. Great to see the fantastic development here as well. I studied here in the 90s, graduated from the electrical science, the radio technology as a major, and some business side. And at that time, it was like studying for corporate world. And I'm super happy to see the kind of entrepreneurship which we have here nowadays. And also thank you for the tour. We visited your factory and all the facilities. So fantastic to see that development. So I was asked to talk about the product development, a bit about our journey. So I really joined straight after the university. Nokia, always been a networks guy. Couple of times almost slipped on the mobile phone side, like colleagues here, but stayed on the network side. And if I think on high level, the strategy and the execution of it, if I think back, let's talk about the transition from 4G to 5G. So going back to 2018, it was a tough time for us because we were not prepared. So these mobile network generations, they come every 10 years. And 2019, the world was getting ready for 5G. And oh boy, we were not ready. So we were not having these in shape. the SoC, system on chip. So this one is a 5 nanometer chip for the digital front end of our massive MIMO products, which is, I mean, these chips, they are like the heart and the brain of the base station. And without them, the product is not competitive. So we entered the 5G era without the competitive chip, and we had to use FPGAs. And then it really took us time to catch up in terms of the competitiveness of the product, introducing the SoCs and writing the software on top of it. And it took a couple of years to catch up. Now we are in a good place. Our products are competitive. We hear it from our customers, from third party, and as a result, we have been able to grow market share as well. So it really is about getting the product right in a high-tech industry, maintaining the competitiveness. I mean, we need to run fast all the time to maintain the competitiveness, because the competition is there and they are also running fast. So we need to execute. Third point here, the collaboration. I mean, in this industry, mobile technology, we cannot really do anything alone. It starts from the standard. 3GPP is a standard for us, defining especially the air interface between the mobile phone and the network, plus more stuff. So we have to be standards compliant, and we have to be competitive against the standard. It actually means we need to actually kind of influence and run the standards for our benefit. So today we are working with the chips like this one on a 3 nanometer technology for the products which will be coming out in 28. And already now we need to drive the chips and the industry, the 3GPP, in such a direction that 6G will fit to our products. The cycles are so long. So I promise you, 2030, you will want 6G logo on your phone like you today want to have the 5G logo there. So this tradition of 10-year cycle for the mobile generations seems to continue. So Nokia Mobile Networks is half of Nokia, and this is our strategy on one slide. Leading hardware and software, it really starts, like I said, from the chips, but then we also need to develop the product around it. Having the leading products then enables us to do these high-performance networks. So whenever our customers, the operators, buy equipment from us, we want them to be having the best network in that country. We typically look at the KPIs like downlink speed, uplink speed, latency, and power consumption. So these are the key KPIs for us. Sustainability, energy efficiency, super important. I mean, it's the electricity bill, which is the second largest item of cost item of our customers, but it's also making sure that the world doesn't warm too much. So the CO2 emissions we have committed to cut half from 2019 level to 2030, and then we are working towards the zero CO2 emission announcement, so stay tuned. Automation, optimization together with AI. I mean, whatever we can automate, we are automating. We are using more and more AI for that one. Then something happening on the network architecture. So we are getting those radio network software also to the cloud. So currently we are using purpose-built hardware, but more and more we are taking also the RAN network to cloud. And then we are working with the next steps of the technology, 5G advanced and the 6G. The question I'm always very worried if somebody like my mom asks, what do you do? And then this is typically my answer that, hey, you can look on top of the roof of that building and there you can see our boxes. So these are the base station products which are visible to you in the network. these are the radios. Behind it we have the baseband, on top of it we have software, and actually software work dominates our R&D. But these are the visible pieces, the radios. There are the massive MIMO radios. With the beam we can follow the users. It's quite advanced, fantastic technology. More traditional, regular radios, RRH, plus the small cells and the femtos even you can find at your home. Like said, we used to be in a bad spot, but now we're in a good spot. And this is also what the third-party companies tell us, Global Data, AMD, IDC. They give us credit that now the product is competitive. Some of the quotes here are about the microwave radio, which is a transport technology. Some of the quotes are about the mobile network technology, so the base stations and the software as part of it. Dell Oro, we consider the best company benchmarking our competition. This is their view, so they are telling that our market share has been growing past 7 quarters, consecutive quarters. From, if I look at this 5G, which is a good metric to look at, so from 22 to 29. And why do we say excluding China? Is that in China, well, it's hard. And basically the Western vendors are put into a very, very small market share. Us and Ericsson, we both have 3% each in China. Actually, the growth curve would be there. We have also been able to grow our market share in China, but we tend to look at the market share excluding China, simply because in China it's very difficult for a Western vendor. Something we launched earlier this year in Mobile World Congress. So in February there is the Mobile World Congress, which is the biggest event for our industry, in Barcelona, and we launched any RAN, so it means we can play basically with anybody when it comes to the ecosystem around the cloud, back into the point of collaboration. So it's not only the standardization, but it's also partners like the server makers, HPE, Dell, hyperscalers, Google Cloud, AWS, IBM. We need to play with these guys so that our software works on top of their hardware. This is the trend. More and more our customers want to buy the hardware from these guys, solution on the cloud from these guys, and then we just deliver the software, Cloud Run software on top of it. More about collaboration. Here we are with the academia and especially looking towards the 6G, which you will want in 2030. We are working with a lot of universities. I was few weeks back in New York. We have a fantastic event, Brooklyn 6G Summit. We organized together with the New York University and IEEE. If you're interested, Google it. You can see all the great presentations online. And of course, we do cooperate a lot with Aalto, other Finnish universities, and so forth. So again, a lot of collaboration needed in terms of the research. If I pick one a little bit more advanced research topic of the 6G we are spending a lot of time on is something called AI, so artificial intelligence-based air interface. So nowadays, the mobile phone, this guy, when it talks to those boxes, those base stations, the receiver algorithm is completely written by humans. But now, big research item for 6G is that how about if that algorithm would be AI-based? So the air interface would be AI-based. It seems now the winning combination will be actually, well, a combination so that AI algorithm is helping optimizing the classical receiver algorithm. But more and more we will see AI also in this kind of, let's say, very hardcore part of the product. Nowadays, AI is already used in things like optimizing power consumption over the time and place of the network, such kind of stuff. But it's getting more and more into the depths of the system as well. And with that one, we could go for the questions.
Thank you, Ari. A question from the audience, but before that, going back to 2019, you said that we were having painful times.
Yes.
You saw that you were behind of the competition. And with PDP is a very famous course at Aalto. I think many students here are in the course of PA Product Development Project, but it also stands for passion, determination, and promotion. But the passion part, what happened with the passion with your team when you realized that you are behind the competition, the competitors, and you needed to cut some projects, some R&D projects, and make a turnaround? So what did you do with your people, with your R&D experts, to kind of healing the pain and taking the new direction?
Yeah, so I was actually like now doing the portfolio management at that time, and one big thing to solve this issue was to clean up the portfolio. So luckily we didn't at that time need to get rid of people so much, but we basically assigned them to work on the mainstream. So we had too many projects. We were developing too many things for future, for science, and then we just had to focus. So I killed a lot of stuff on the portfolio, and we focused on the kind of fundamental stuff, and that helped. That was one of the things which helped us to take back the leadership. Focus. And then you were talking about the passion. I mean, yeah, it's not nice when your customer tells you that you are bad. You go from one meeting to another, and every meeting customer tells that your product is bad, you are bad. But then when you get it turned around, then actually the fun starts. Then you meet the same customer and they say, hey, thank you. You did the turnaround, now the product is great. So knowing, even when you are in this bad place, knowing that we will do this work and we will get to a better place. So that was great motivation for everyone to get us from bad place to a good place.
Did you do something extra with the people?
Yeah, I mean,
discussing, going through the situations and going, analyzing the history, looking forward.
Plenty. So there was like 70 plus things we identified how we can improve our R&D in terms of how is the software architecture, how do we develop it, how do we make teams work together better, how do we work together between the R&D and the standardization and blah, blah, blah. It was a really long list of items we identified, how can we improve. And then we followed up on a monthly basis, how are we doing in this transition.
Any questions from the audience? Yeah.
So yeah, just wanted to hear a bit more about how you decided to cut down the portfolio. You said a significant part, but is it like you cut down to 1/5 of your existing, or you cut 1/5 away, or like what? Can you talk a bit more about the hard choices of actually cutting down projects and deciding what you focus on, and how did you make the decisions? How much do you cut away, and so on? It would be nice to hear more.
Yeah, thanks. Good question. So it was, if I would compare like the amount of R&D people, amount of euros spent on the stuff we cut versus the stuff we kept, the piece we cut was actually not that big. But in terms of, I mean, if you would simply count the number of products, and if you then consider this big one as one, then it would be other way around. So we actually killed many projects. So they were all quite small in terms of the euros spent, but it was disturbing in terms of the management focus. Plus there was, I mean, it was significant, so that we were able to get those people working from less productive, less profitable projects to the mainstream. But it's all about the business case, so you need to understand where do you put your R&D euro, and it all drive from the business case.
Any other questions? Yep.
You actually touched a little bit upon the team part of it, like, and when they were working. So how does it, like, were there any measures you had to take about the team motivation and building these teams together when they've been working on something, and then you go like, oh, guess what, that's cut off now. So how do you like manage that? Because people are people at the end of the day, so.
Yeah, another good one. So it was mainly a communication topic, communication challenge. So you cannot over-communicate. So starting from the top management to the middle management to the lowest, smallest teams in the organization, everybody had to understand that we are now in this transition. We will come out as a winner. It's gonna be tough for a while, but it's a journey. And we used all kinds of ways to talk about it, communicate where we are going to be tomorrow and the day after. So communication is the key. So we have, I mean, the team level, of course, it all happens. I mean, the biggest impact you get when your boss is talking to your direct report. So we really cascaded it throughout the organization, but then we have tools like IT tools for communicating. Yammer is the one we used those days. Yammer posting was the one everybody could read what the top management is thinking about it. And another one was the culture of if you do a mistake, it's okay, but you learn from it. So we established something called autopsy without the blame. So whenever there was something we found out that didn't go so well, we encouraged people to talk about it, share it, so that everybody else can learn about it.
My question is a bit more generic. It's obvious that there are some tasks that you just perform, more monotonic, and when we speak about product development, it's more, creative and creating something new. So is it just kind of a law of nature that you just must find yourself in trouble so that you can make such a radical change towards prefer, as you explained?
Yeah, absolutely. If there is no pressure, there is no diamond. I mean, it's if you would have easy life all the time, then there is no reason to change. So there needs to be some kind of a driver.
Yep.
So something that was a bit unclear to me was what exactly led to the kind of technology being kind of left behind?
Yeah, I didn't actually describe that one, but thanks, good question. So Nokia Mobile Networks today is, we are 7 companies put together. Nokia, Siemens, Alcatel, Lucent, a little bit of Nortel, Motorola and Panasonic. And one of the big mergers, Nokia acquiring Alcatel-Lucent, happened just at the time when we were supposed to get ready for 5G. So there was a lot of management attention on the acquisition, putting things together and all the things which follow from that one. And we lost the focus. So that for me is the fundamental reason why we then at the beginning of the 5G era were late with the fundamentals.
Yep.
You mentioned that it is important, or that it was important for you to somehow influence the upcoming standards for your competitive advantage. How does that look like? How does that standardization landscape look like? Because I haven't been imagining companies pushing for their own benefit there as of now.
Yeah, thanks. So in standardization, how the 3GPP works is that it's the vendors like us, Ericsson, Samsung, Huawei, ZTE, working on it, but it's also our customers like Docomo is probably the biggest influencer from the CSP operator part, but then, Verizon, AT&T, Vodafone, T-Mobile. So it's a big community. And how to influence is plus the Qualcomm's, MediaTeks of the world. Also we need the device chip makers. So it's, you need to negotiate, you need to drive your ideas. So how especially the 3GPP works is that the best proposal, the best idea will win. So if somebody has an idea which improves the air interface performance, let's say downlink speed, that kind of topic, it's easy to understand that it will go through the 3GPP standardization. So it's like the whole ecosystem is driving for the best performance. And then you just need to make sure that you have enough of the brain power to drive the standards. So we are targeting to have standard essential patent leadership, enough patents to drive the 3GPP so that our innovation is a big part of it. So it's another fight, but as an end result then the mobile technology has been developing all these years, all these generations massively. So you drive it through the innovation, IPR, influencing others.
I would still like to go back to 2019, maybe 2018. Did you see any signs already before 2019? And do you think afterwards that you made the kind of a turnaround decision too late? Or you could have done it earlier? Because that's often said in industry that the painful decisions are made not too early. They are too late.
Yeah,
what do you think now, and what are your lessons learned actually from this period?
I mean, of course it's easy to say that we should have done it earlier, and the lesson learned really is that now we are doing the 6G already like since few years. So when it comes to the transition from 5G and 6G, we will not be late. That's the learning. Yeah.
Oh, still many questions. Good.
Yeah, I have one question regarding 6G. Do you see any ethical issues raising with that? And how does your team work towards that when developing the product?
Did you say ethical?
Yeah. Like in terms of data privacy or users that are going to be using that technology?
Yeah, I mean, that is not only 6G, it's in general the data privacy and the security kind of topics are important in the mobile technology already before 6G. The new thing on that front will be quantum safe computing. So there is justified worry that with quantum computing you can hack ciphering, and that's like maybe the novelty in the 6G era. But of course we need to also even that solution date backwards to the previous generations. But that's fundamental piece of this industry.
Yeah, it was really interesting what you said about the autopsy. And since we have like a project managers here, we are training to work with like different kind of teams. How do you actually do the like autopsy without the blame? Like how do you facilitate it? Or
Sorry, was it about partnership?
About the autopsy without blame. Like how can you actually facilitate it?
Okay. Yeah, it was quite flexible actually. We didn't want to put like a massive institution on it. We just encouraged people to do it, share their learnings, but we didn't really care how did you do it, and it was also very much topic dependent. But it was more like a culture thing.
There was some, okay, there was one. This might be the last question.
Thank you. You mentioned about the R&D effectiveness. Can you a little bit elaborate? You've been doing that practice since the Alcatel-Lucent acquisition. Do you still see that there are improvements that can be done? And if so, are they among teams, or is it between teams, or how do you seek the effectiveness from R&D?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a big fan of Japanese Kaizen, always improve, and that's what we do with our R&D. I think we publicly even state that we want to improve every year, some 5%, 6% per year we could look at. And then of course, I mean, that is like how we improve the way we work and how we learn. But then we're also working with AI, so let's see how much AI will help our work. Especially, I mean, we do a lot of software development. It dominates our R&D, so quite some hopes, not only hopes but plans there also. The AI making us more efficient.
Thank you very much. You are in a hurry going to see your partners.
Yeah.
So
some visitors from US, unfortunately, I need to leave you at this point. But hey,
thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. And then another technology company represented by Lisa Åström. Lisa is the VP Products and Systems at Vaisala and leader at R&D and Products Management in Vaisala Industrial Measurements. So with 20 years of experience in the design and management of high-tech products in a global business environment, she's enthusiastic about customer value, facilitating smooth dialogue between technology and business and creating an environment that supports R&D success. Before her work career in Vaisala Åström had been Master of Science in Technology. So Lisa, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Pekka. And hello everybody, it's great to be here and speak about product development, our favorite subject, with you today. Just like Ari started here, Vaisala is a company where product leadership and how good products you have really place you on the market. And for us, product development is really, really important as well. We put something like 12% of our revenue into product development every year, and 29% of people work somehow in research and development related roles. But today, when Ari spoke more about the strategy and really need for companies like us to invest into product development, I'll take the next layer of it, how to work within the company and collaborate within the company in a way that's producing diamonds. And what are the things in people's skills, characters, and competencies, leadership and culture that enable such a success. If you don't know Vaisala at all, it's a smaller company, obviously, than Nokia. So we're about 2,000 people, and we are all about measurements. So the company is known in Finland, but maybe actually it's very international company in the field of measurements in meteorological side, so weather observations, but then also different industrial measurements. And 98% of our products go to export, so like I said, we're also a very international company. Here in the picture you see one of our latest releases. It's a handheld device for those industrial environments, measuring, for example, humidity and temperature in different industrial environments. That could be a pharmaceutical company's laboratory, storage area, semiconductor manufacturing site, or something like that. And I would like to talk a little bit first about the story of that product and how that relates then to people. The product we had before was this one on the left-hand side. It was a 20-year-old product, a handheld meter for spot checking with the same like customer use case and business case. And we had two visions for the product. We wanted to make a product leadership product because that's like what we do. That's in our strategy. And then we wanted it to be really, really lovely and wonderful to use. So we wanted it to be a design winner. That was like the internal goal, that, hey, let's make a product that feels so good, the usability is fantastic, and it looks good, and it's like really well purpose-built for that need of doing spot checks, of measuring different environments. And the end result is there. We got a Fennia Prize honorary award for it, and the product has now been on the market since spring. But the story behind that included a lot of prototyping, and it included 3 years of hard work by a project team. And the original, for example, the electronics PCB started from version A, and now when we went into manufacturing, it's version M. So you can calculate how many iterations there were just for that electronics, and obviously the same loops and iterations and learnings for everything that's included into that. And a lot of design choices along the way have to be made before you get to where you are. And that requires a lot from the people who are in that project for 3 years. And it requires a really good culture that supports those decisions and those people on their way there. In a product company, I think we can explain it in this triangle that we need to manage 3 things: people, product, and business. And out of these 3, most important is people, because it's people who make the products that then enable the business. And products are the reflection of the people who make them. This is very important, this people angle, because great products are made by making the right choices, just like we discussed previously. So in a way, you could say that product development is always some kind of a compromise, or maybe a nicer way to put it is that it's like an optimization effort, that there are different angles of performance of the product, but also manufacturability, hitting the right cost price point, usability, different kinds of things, simplicity of it, and all of that. And the team has to have the capability to do these correct choices. And it kind of requires a team that is capable of having a very even heated discussions and a lot of, in a way, positive friction to get all of the angles into the view and really make always the best possible choice based on the facts available. So they have to have enough understanding of the customer and a true passion to really bring all of the items on the table. So making an organization that debates and argues in a positive way is what you need, I think, in product development more than anywhere. Personally, I like this book a lot. It's Marty Kagan's book from 2020 called Empowered. It says something like making great products by ordinary people or something like that. I really recommend the book if you're into R&D and leadership or work in R&D. And what it says is that we need teams of missionaries, not teams of mercenaries. That's in Finnish, missionaries like lähetyssaarnaaja and mercenaries palkkasotilas. And you can get the difference, like missionary would be the type of people who are motivated, engaged, they know the business context of the company, and they have true empathy for the customer and really want to solve the problem of the customer. On the other hand, a mercenary could describe as somebody who's just doing the job, not really feeling accountable or empowered, not really passionate about the problem to be solved, and don't have a real connection to the user. And in a way, of course, it's obvious, yes, we would like to have those missionaries if we want to make great products. Still, there are companies who outsource all of their R&D. Maybe they don't, maybe they don't battle on the field of making the best products, but I would claim that if you outsource all of your R&D, you're kind of leaving out the opportunity to have missionaries that really understand the customer and the company and really work as a solid team. Of course, it's a different discussion that every company uses to some extent external resources as a support and added competencies, but core being inside has definite value. Then the question maybe comes that, do you recruit missionaries, and how do you know you're recruiting a missionary? Yes, missionaries, the properties of a missionary definitely are there in people, some stronger than others, but it's very much also how you build the culture and the organization to work as a missionary. But at the time of recruitment, we try to look for both competence and character. So competence, with young people, competence can very much be filled with potential, because potential is leading into competence sooner or later. But competence could be typically things like skills and capabilities and track record. But the character also needs to be there, that it's a person whose integrity and motivation and intent towards other people is on a level that is productive to the team. So even if you're 10 or maybe in software some say that there can be 100 times performers, but if it's toxic to the team, then that's not a 10 or 100 times result for the company. But luckily, most people are non-toxic, so that's in a way not a typical problem. But I'm just saying that competence and character both are very important and are something to look for. And character, I want to say specifically, doesn't mean that they have to have this cultural fit that everybody's alike, that I recruit people like me. Absolutely not. Diversity is one of the best things to have in a product development team. For example, for Vaisala, 98% of our products go abroad, so definitely it's good to have different cultures in the team, all genders or all ages, people who think differently. We very much embrace diversity and look for diversity in the amount that we can in Finland, and the project team language typically is English in every single team. Then on how to build those and keep those missionaries. Like said, culture and leadership also have a big role in that. We need to enable the teams or empower the teams so that they make the actual choices along the way of that product development road. That management and different stakeholders have the understanding to pose questions and the challenges and the problems, but let the team find the way. Because no single person has the correct answers in the beginning, and it is actually detrimental if you start picking on details, because then you turn people into the mode of mercenary, even if they wouldn't personally originally be in that mode, but you turn the company to work in that mode, that the correct answers come from the corner room, and it's simply not possible with the complexity of things in product development. So the culture and the way of leading product development, I think, is very much about empowerment, and I liked this book, which I feel that presented it very well. That was my 10 cents on the subject of leadership and people and collaboration in product development within a company, and I would be happy to take any questions or comments you might have.
Surely there are questions how to build the mission area. Characters, for instance. Eetu. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. To start off, you were talking about building a culture of empowerment. Would there be any example that you'd be willing to share where you've tried something that did not work as intended, where you tried to enable these missionaries but did not have the result that you hoped for?
Yeah, there definitely it doesn't work every time, and also depending on backgrounds of people, you might have former backgrounds of companies that operate differently, and so for example, we've recruited half of my 200 people team in the last 5 years. So obviously people come with different experience, not really from school, but from different companies. So sometimes it's been apparent that, for example, a new project manager can feel that, ooh, this is a lot of responsibility that I'm actually not expected to ask for all details from my manager, but to find a way with the team. And then on the other hand, it needs a steering group which is supportive, so you can't just leave people alone, and empowerment doesn't mean like hands-off leadership. So you have to definitely, as management team, be there for support and look for the resources and whatever the team needs. So maybe finding that balance, that what's the support without getting too involved, and a new person maybe coming into the key role of that, then not every time has been easy in the beginning. As people grow into the organization, maybe the way of working becomes part of somehow your DNA, but these are things that cannot be maybe really explicitly trained in a welcome to Vaisala type of event, that you just learn into it and you observe as you go that this is the style in this company.
Have you changed the recruitment process? I think the questions you present for the potential worker, where you try to find out more about the character and the personality more than the competencies themselves.
Yeah, we have changed specifically, for example, for the diversity point of it. Together with our HR, we are specifically looking at more diversity, so we are trying to bring in candidates with a wide background, have a larger pool, help managers to have a larger pool to kind of look from, and also, like I said, look for potential and character instead of just a very long track record. And we have even a goal that we want to have more entry-level positions in the organization, so that we don't become an organization where everybody has this 20 years of experience in the industry, though, because it's not the benefit of the company, and we need to have different people and young people entering and keeping the ball rolling as others move on and retire and all of that. So yes, we have specifically paid attention to diversity in recruitment, both age, gender, and international background.
Yep.
Is there a limit to this kind of how much you can incorporate diversity into your recruitment process, such as like finding enough competent people in the hiring pool, let's say? And then another question would be, do you look at other metrics as well, or not metrics, but qualities other than, let's say, gender and kind of international background?
Yeah, of course, we always look at the competence primarily. So, and yes, it's not always easy. We operate very much our R&Ds in Finland, so of course we operate in the environment where we are in, and Finland is not presenting the full world as such, but we having the kind of the focused effort at least to start from a wider pool has been good for us. And then we've had some, if I maybe have a short advertisement, we for example have this Vaisala Giant Leap summer program of projects for students. We'll be launching it again in January, I believe, and that's one way to gather different kind of youngsters into our pools and networks already early in the student career, and we hope that they enjoy and have a good experience, and the reputation grows by that.
Any other questions? Yes.
Thank you, Pekka. Yeah, I was wondering about the structure of the team in Vaisala. So do you have interdisciplinary teams in the organization, for example, in different teams?
Yes, absolutely. A typical product development team would be like maybe 10 people full-time, so there would be a project managers, then somebody from mechanical engineering discipline, electrical engineering discipline, software, hardware testing, software testing, documentation, usability. We have usability and design in every project we do. Those are maybe the key people that we always have. Then probably as we do measurement instruments, usually scientists involved. And then we also include interdisciplinary people from other functions. So for example, in every R&D project, we have people from operations, both from the manufacturability point of view, sourcing to look at suppliers early in the project. We have somebody from marketing very early in the project to think about the value propositions well in advance with us, and that's pretty much it. But these people are not full day on a project. They might join 4 or 5 projects, so they're kind of connected to many projects. But it's very, very interdisciplinary, yes.
Okay. And can you share some tips and tricks, for example, that you follow in these types of teams to facilitate this kind of interdisciplinary collaboration and communication?
One tip that could be useful is that first of all, we focus quite a lot in the beginning of the R&D cycle, so a phase that we call concepting, when no design choices have been frozen, but we work quite heavily because a lot of that dialogue then actually makes the rest of the R&D quicker and less, wrong paths and mistakes, although there are always those turnarounds. And in that concepting, there are some tricks that can be used. For example, that build personas of your customers. Try to say that, okay, like Matt the meteorologist will be our customers, or Lucy the pharmaceutical quality engineer will be our customers, and then think about the things that are important to that customer, and then what would be the design choices for that. So maybe a lot of the I think design thinking, customer user research type of things, I find quite valuable to somehow enable the discussion in an interdisciplinary team and everybody kind of getting on the same page of what are we doing and where do we head with this product.
Thank you. One more question? Yes.
I would be interested to hear more about the user testing of because you're developing something that's like very user focused and something the user will interact with. So what does that look like in your company?
Yeah, we think about that every time in every project. So we have a team that specializes in UX and customer experience, and they have we have like more than one method in our back pocket, but sometimes it could be, for example, a Safari. Like in this case, we try to follow customers who have the previous product to look at like behind their shoulders just to see how they use it and do they use like half of the features there and what's difficult to them and so on. So that kind of thing. Actually, this product was designed in the time of COVID, so we couldn't meet all of the customers of the previous product like we wanted to. So some of the user meetings were done on Teams. So that was something new, but seemed to work. At least you get good discussions going on. Then, of course, you can invite customers to early prototyping, get beta test customers. We typically try to get some customers early on before the release of the product when we still have time to do changes, to do those, try them out in their environment. And then we have an international sales network that can be helpful also, though. So we talk with them and show the early prototypes and try to gather some of the customer insight through our own people, because we cannot go to the world and meet every customer. We don't even know them because many of the products go through distributors, so it's a challenge. But yeah, different types of, I think, design thinking tools that we use.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
I think we have learned so much. Let's have a 3 minutes break, but not a break. Exchange your views and lessons learned from the 2 first keynotes with your neighbors. So you have 3 minutes time. So go on. Share your views with your neighbor. 3 minutes.
Paljon kysymyksiä, mikä on tosi positiivista. Joo. Siis yleensä niin sanotusti aikuisten seminaarissa kukaan ei kysy mitään ja tää tulee heti 5-6. Ilahduttavaa. Tätä KV-porukkaa. Mitä? Niin. Onko te vähän aktiivisempia kanssa?
Viimeisellä kurssilla, siis jos on 162 osallistujaa, niin 70% on ei-suomenkielisiä.
Niinpä, joo. Nää kun saatais töihin jäämään Suomeen.
Kyllä. Ja sen pitäisi saada viestiksi meidän hallituksellekin.
Kyllä, sanos muuta. Joo.
Se pitää tehdä. Välillä tuntuu, että keskustelu itärajasta siitä, että onko tänään 3 vai 5 tullut, niin pitäisikö sen sijaan niin miettiä, että hei, että otetaan ihan tänne niin ja opiskelemaan ja töihin. Ja
kyllä.
Siis mä oon väsynyt tähän
se on aika väsyttävää.
Ja onko se sen...
Ja tää 3 kuukautta siitä, kun on valmistunut nyt pihalle. Kuka ehtii semmoisen rekrytointiprosessin, että hoitaa siinä välissä?
Sehän on se ajatus oli, että tästä näin targetoi sitä porukkaa, joka on poltkuskeja ja muuta, mutta nehän rekrytointiprosessi.
No nehän menee nopeasti ja meidän ei. Joo, näin on. Se on muuten just totta.
Meillä on Aallon ja Tampereen yliopiston kanssa ja sitten on ekonomit ja sitten teknologian käsityksessä. Näitä lopputyöpaikkoja hankitaan niille.
Joo, tosi hyvä.
Koska se on se, jos on tehnyt yrityksen diplomityön.
Niin sit sä oot jo jalka sisällä Suomessa. Joo, sillä, jos ei se yritys, niin joku muukin ymmärtää, että sä oot jo, joo, näin.
Varsinkin kun tullaan siihen maisterivaiheeseen 2 vuoden.
Joo.
60 seconds. Okay. Welcome again. Back on stage, and let's welcome Ulla Uimonen from Taitos. Ulla is a heavyweight. What does it mean? Professional, packaging design professional. An entrepreneur also, she will tell about the story, and CEO of co-founder of Taitos Oy, where she works from crafting great experiences to verifying and implementing them. Formerly, she has gained experience from working as a head of packaging at Nokia mobile phones, I think it's precisely, and director of packaging in Microsoft. In her career, she has also been a chairman of the board at Design Forum Finland. That's a place where we met some years ago. Her background is in design, which she studied in Lahti in the Institute of Design, and I think your performance reflects the design perspective. So Ulla, the stage is yours, please.
Put it on? Yes. Yes, so I'm Ulla, and I'm excited to be here. Coming from a small company, it's wonderful to be with people for change. I'm going to go through 3 stories with you today, because ultimately we're going to end up into these things that I have on the table. But to get there, I need to talk a little bit of Nokia and a little bit of other stuff as well. So first of all, related to the 3 different stories that I'm going to go through. So the first story is about knowing your business. Second story is about the easy years of Taitos, so our packaging company. And then the third story is about designing new business, which is kind of the story or topic of my story here. Sorry for the audience, a little bit of Nokia again, but it was 19 years of my work experience out of my 30 years so far, so that's why I need to kind of talk about it a little bit before. I joined the company also 1995 when Ari joined. And when I joined the company, a big company, because they were already doing millions of products. But little did I know. So here you can see the volume curves, what we were kind of ending up seeing. So in 2008, we were doing nearly 500 million products per year, so mobile phones per year. This meant that every second of the year, 15 products were packed around the world. And altogether, my team, I ended up heading the packaging, so altogether my team ended up doing 4.5 billion products during those years. So the volume was really massive, and that has been kind of the thing that taught us and had educated me as well. The global network was wide as well, so we had factories around the world, and we were dealing with suppliers around the world. But then, related to this knowing your business, there were 3 elements that I want to highlight with you that have impacted development in a kind of an unusual way, or you wouldn't expect probably as such. You know the processes and you know all that, but then when it comes to, for example, decision making. So early years in the company, we were really focusing on getting the process right. So we mitigated risk and we made timely decisions so that we didn't cause hiccups in the production, and we were really kind of the good players in the system. But related to, or even if the process worked, the end result may still have been something else than coherent. And the reason for that one was that the decision making in the company was not coherent. We were actually playing with 4 different business units. They were all competing each other. Everything that gets developed inside the company gets inside the sales package. So there was a lot of ambitions in the company for the sales packaging, and then kind of there were 4 different decision-making bodies, even though we were doing all the right things in a way, but the decision-making was visible in the end result. So that's a key learning. So you can do your bit right, but you also need to influence what other people are doing in the company and how the company thinks of the kind of coherent targets. Then a larger-than-life motivation, easy for us in packaging business. Sustainability is something that keeps us driving the kind of things forward. So we were continuously developing elements that made our packaging more sustainable. This little package here actually answered a question that one of our designers was asking, that how little material can we use to package our product? What's the minimum amount of material that we need to use to package our product safely? And when we started then getting the answer to that one, we created a really, really small package, and that challenged all the established rules that we already had created. And it required automation from the factories. It required that user guides were recreated, a lot of obstacles on the way. But again, sustainability as a shared common target and motivation helped to clear those obstacles. It took probably a couple of years to kind of really make it out over there, but once it was ready, it was the smallest packaging within the mobile phone industry. And it created massive savings for the company, obviously. Can't say the amount of millions, but very, very big amount of savings. Third part of the kind of insights is that packaging at its best is part of the total product experience. You're better off putting the user in the center and then kind of using packaging as only one part of the full product experience. And always when you try to create lovely, great experiences, it's going to be kind of a multidisciplinary collaboration. And this is what we kind of ended up doing in actually 2013-14 when we were already moving towards Microsoft at that time. And as you can see, the coherence of the company decision making had also been improved at that time. Then my second story is about the easy years of Titos. Thanks to my good network and collaboration from Nokia and wide network, it was quite easy for us to kind of start our own business. It's easy if you already have customers waiting for you. The people from Nokia had already gone to different parts of businesses, and we had the kind of shared trust between us. We were kind of believing into the same elements like sustainability and end user experience, and those were the kind of the foundations for Titos as well. So we created the company based on the same elements, and then we were able to get customers from our network. Now I can't see my paper. Yes, transition is not always easy, but for us it was rather easy. Our business model in Titos kind of rotates around service design. We are doing all the packaging related services under one roof. And the kind of the first customers, for example, that we got were HMD Mobile. So again, Nokia phones we were packing. They actually helped us to kind of utilize our expertise in the in the packaging design industry, in the mobile phone industry, and we were we were pushed by them. So in the new model, we were doing everything, same things that we were doing in Nokia, but we were doing it with very much less time and very much less resources. So they were really kind of pushing our agility, but we managed to do that, and we actually got HMD Global to become our kind of most valuable customer and most long-term customer also. Then we brought the same services also to other companies like Suunto, Varjo, Fiskars, these type of companies, and many more. We have had 7 profitable years in designing packaging for other companies, but now the business has hit us really hard. And instead of being sorry for the situation, I feel that we need to be very lucky about the 7 profitable years. And it's time to refocus. So one of the hard things for an entrepreneur is to kind of decide when to stop. And now it's really a design when to stop this part of the business and focus on new topics, moving the right way. Our early days of Taitos, we were thinking already ahead that there might be worse days for Taitos. What do we do then? So we were saying that the world is full of bad packaging examples. And what we then can do is that we just pick one bad packaging and we make it better, and we try to create business out of that. Our innovation that we have now created, so COVID hit us and we were able to focus on something concrete. And we had, for a long time, we had been dreaming of a rigid box that is sustainable. So for all of you, rigid box is the Apple phone packaging, the hard box that you all know. Unlike traditional packaging, unlike traditional packaging, traditional rigid packaging, our innovation is called Aura by Taitos, and it's very sustainable. It uses only sustainable materials, and it has a flat traveling feature. So I'll show you with concrete samples here. So you get the hard, lovely, sharp corner package, but it's a flat traveling box. And what we do with, or how we have done it, is that we are using paper adhesive as the top liner, and we're using high quality gray board as the core material. And the innovation, or patentable innovation here, is the production method which is unique. So right now we're in a situation where we have patents filed for Europe, US, and China, and our production machinery is ready. Next with this innovation is that we are going to be developing business models, so that we decided that we're not going to be a factory runner. We need to be licensing this system for either brand owners or packaging suppliers, and we decided that it makes sense more to kind of select trusted packaging supplier for luxury brands, and then we're able to license it forward. Alternative way of doing it is that, or an alternative business model is that we're going to create a Taitos predefined portfolio where we are selecting certain sizes and colors, and then we make them on the shelf, and then companies with small businesses can still buy this lovely packaging off the shelf and get their brand on the packaging, so that we in a way, not only big customers, but we also want smaller businesses to have access to lovely packaging. It says here since October 22, but actually already since October 21, when we filed our patent application, and we were kind of safe to show the innovation in the world. We started going to packaging fairs like Monaco and Milan, and we showcased the samples over there, and we got really enthusiastic feedback from brand owners, particularly luxury packaging, knows that they are able to kind of get a benefit if they do lovely packaging, and lovely packaging with really sustainable story. Right now we're also playing with different colors and materials so that we can play with the looks and feels of the packaging. But our packaging is not only needed and justified, it's also in the intersection of sustainability and luxury, which is an interesting place to be. And we believe that it has a lot of potential because there's a lot of need for rigid boxes in the world, and there's a lot of wide usage of rigid boxes in the world. That's why we're kind of believing in our story. Yeah, this is kind of my short story about how entrepreneurship is designing new business. Thank you.
Thank you. Between luxury and sustainability, that's very interesting. Questions to Ulla?
Okay. What was the process for you to come up with the Aura packaging? Like, was it I don't know, epiphany at the Mökki, or was it you sat down together and scoped out what needs to be in the market, or like how did you come up with the idea, and what's the journey to get there?
Now it's on. Yes, we had long been dreaming of this stuff. We had been kind of dealing with rigid boxes for already Nokia years, then with almost with all of our customers during Taito's time, we had been kind of creating rigid boxes. And it's always painful because they are created in the factory into a 3D mode, and if you need to ship them, then they take a lot of space in the factory. So kind of we just created a brief for ourselves that we want to create a lovely high-end packaging that actually is able to travel flat. There are rigid boxes with hinge solutions, but those always need a plastic coating, and they're not very kind of lovely with details. So that's why kind of we said that we want to be better than that, and we want it to be kind of a process so that it can be automated quite easily. So we created a brief for ourselves, and then we started going it through regularly, and we put the whole team working on it, and then we started getting into kind of closer and closer to this option, and then we had kind of one of our team members to be the head of that development, so that she then started taking it forward. And the key there is that there's actually a paper adhesive as the top liner, and then we have, so this is a sticker material, this thing on top, and then there's a gray board which is V-grooved in the center, and then our machinery is actually kind of taking the paper adhesive from the roll, it reveals the center part, and then our robot places the gray board into the center and kind of presses it in place and cuts it, and then it's ready. And also the branding can be done as a flat format, or it can be part of the print on the sticker.
Hello.
Hello.
So basically my question is, what made you choose the luxury packaging only? Like you're specifying your packaging?
Luxury packaging.
Yeah, like why did you choose that? Because coming from the whole business, you just specify to the luxury.
Yeah. Simple terms, margins, where packaging in any case is a low cost element, and you're better off doing kind of a little bit bigger margin business. So if we need to do innovation and we need to do investments, it makes sense to kind of target on the higher margin business.
Yes. this is the final one.
Thanks for the presentation. So I can make it maybe short two questions. One is about the first part of the production that you have had, that it's going to be stopped. I mean, it somehow stopped. So can you a little bit describe on the reasons that made you or forced this decision? Was it only by the reduction of the demand of those ordinary, or let's say the basic type of packaging that you have stopped? About the reasons that after that 7 years of plus side or the demand decreased, or were there other reasons that you can, let's say, describe?
Okay. Yeah. So the packaging design service business has gone into standstill with the economic situation today. So kind of we are kind of losing most of our customers. With some customers, we have been developing their full packaging design portfolio, and now they don't have need for new packaging design services anymore, and so on. So it's just kind of there seems to be no business for packaging design service, particularly like in a situation where packaging manufacturers typically provide services for free as long as you buy the packaging from them. So we're an independent design agency from packaging manufacturers, though of course the benefit is then that we're able to compete or make the packaging manufacturers compete, but this is not very obvious for the customers always, and we're not cheap. We're great and not cheap, so that's why we need to then refocus into this innovation.
Thank you. About this, this aura, where, let's say, the new type of this considering sustainability in luxury, let's say, packaging, and the relation with the costs. I mean, are they, let's say, the cost-wise, they are more expensive, or about this the new patented technology and also the production?
Well, because we want to focus on the highest possible sustainability standards, the materials are quite expensive. So we still don't know, even though the machinery is ready, we still haven't been able to run it to its full maximum, so we don't know the absolute maximums, how fast it can be. So we'll still learn about that, but the materials are quite expensive. So kind of, but the benefit here is that you shouldn't look at only the component cost. You should actually look at if you buy rigid boxes from China and you ship them somewhere and you need to store them somewhere, and if these can be made more locally. So you need to look at the total cost in it instead of just component cost. I'd say component costs were a little bit higher than traditional rigid boxes, but overall cost, it should go a little bit lower.
And I understood that thanks to your 7 profitable years, you were quite wise not to spend all the money, but you had kind of a financing budget to invest on new things.
So we have received, so far we have received Business Finland funding during COVID, so the maximum 100,000, that's the only funding we have received so far. We do have a positive funding decision also for the machinery, but we haven't kind of collected that yet. But otherwise, we have been able to kind of just deal with our Taito's money with the investment.
So during the first 7 years, you were too busy to be innovative.
That's right. That's right. Now we were able to focus on this kind of challenging problem that we wanted to solve.
So for innovation, you need to have time.
Yes,
with the people,
indeed.
with the team.
And we have had the freedom to kind of focus, which is also great.
Thank you, Ulla.
Thank you.
We won't leave packaging. Next, we will have Marina from Huhtamäki. I don't know whether you're going to have some reflections, but we'll see. She's currently working at the EVP Strategy and Business Development in Huhtamäki. She's responsible for strategy, global innovation, business intelligence, and M&A businesses in her actions, actually, processes. In her job, she aspires to drive transformation and innovation in a rapidly changing packaging industry, as we have heard already. She has a Master of Science in Economics and a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering. So, Marina, please.
Pekka, thanks so much for the introduction, and thanks for having me here. Wonderful to have this opportunity to talk about innovation. Innovation, which is probably one of the most exciting and fascinating topics in business development, which is a topic that is very close to my heart. That is, once and when you get it right, eventually. But at the same time, of course, as many of us, the practitioners, know, it can also be a very daunting and at times incredibly frustrating topic in business development, particularly when you're in the process of trying to get it right. And I'll speak a little bit more to it in terms of the critical factors. What does it really take to get through that and to be successful in innovation, particularly in packaging, which is a rapidly changing field. But perhaps a couple of words just for the context. And Ulla, thank you so much for paving the way and speaking a little bit to the world of packaging. But let me speak a bit to Huhtamäki. You guys, many of you perhaps know us for the cup. The coffee that is served here is out of a Huhtamäki cup. It's one of the many samples that we have. And this is our core business. We're very, very well vested in that business all over the world. Perhaps what we're less well known for is being a packaging innovation company, perhaps one of the leading ones. And it hasn't always been that way. It's something that we've built up and developed just in under the past 10 years, fairly rapidly. We come from a world of having been a very conservative packaging company with over 100-year history. But the world is changing, and so should we. And we've embarked ourselves on the innovation journey. We focus specifically on food packaging. So a lot of our packaging is at scale. It has to be at scale. It has to be affordable and cost competitive. It's also very sensitive. It has a very high purpose of protection. We operate all over the world in something like 40+ countries. And we touch lives of billions of consumers every single day with our products. So that's us, the Huhtamäki. And let me speak a little bit more to the context of why we innovate. And it's, of course, sustainability. So 100% of our innovation is all about sustainability. For us, being in packaging, of course, what we see a lot is the trash, the waste that we see on the street. And it's not highly motivating. But the story is a little bit more complex than that. Particularly for us, being very close to the food, we actually see the world differently. And we take a lot of purpose and a lot of pride in the mission we already accomplished in sustainability. And I'll give you a couple of examples. So it's perhaps the broader sense of sustainability, both the environment and social. And so on the environmental side, if you think about it, and the facts are astonishing, about a third of food is wasted today. A third of that food wasted today leads to about 10% of the full contribution to the world's green gas emissions today. And think about when packaged, that can be quite easily prevented, right? And if packaged fairly cost effectively. So that's the purpose that we already have, very, very strongly embedded into what we do. If we think about the social aspects of packaging, the food safety, the food hygiene that it enables, the affordability, the accessibility of food, everyday necessities. We often consume our food very far away from the places where it's actually being produced. So these are incredible value, high value attributes of the packaging that's already exists there today. The biggest challenge that we have, and particularly on the food packaging side, is circularity. So that is something that we haven't yet solved, and that is where a lot of the innovation effort. So 100%, as I mentioned, is actually being dedicated to. I'm convinced the packaging world will change. The industry is undergoing what I'd call a paradigm shift, driven by sustainability, driven by both our acknowledgement of the need to to recycle, to circulate, and for us, it's quite existential. The challenge of innovating for circularity is fairly complex. Ulla talked a lot about design, and that's very, very important. From our perspective, it's a broader value chain. It's a full life cycle of packaging that we need to think about. And that includes many types of innovation. It starts with just the basic material science. So what are going to be the new materials of the future? Plastic, right, good or bad? What are the alternatives? How do we develop more sustainable, more renewable sources? It's, of course, about the design, so designing for recycling, for composting. It's about technologies, it's about forming technologies to actually work with those new designs and those new materials. But it's also a lot about business models. How do we make sure that we consumers actually collect and take the product to recycling stations? We get into a digital space very, very quickly. How do we engage with us, the consumers, from a packaging perspective to educate ourselves what's right, what's wrong? We get into recycling systems. We get to the point of sale, reuse. How does that work? How does it make economic sense? How do we use packaging as a fairly valuable source of raw material post-life and recycling? So it's a complex problem. It's a systems problem, right? It's almost you poke one piece, right, and there's a domino that goes across the whole value chain. And so solving for that means for companies like us, we have to work on all of those fronts, and of course we can't do it alone. So hopefully that's a little bit for the context of the problem we're trying to solve. Now, I promised to talk a bit about the success factors and that enable the teams to actually deliver successful innovation. And first I wanted to spend perhaps a minute on just defining what is the process of innovating in packaging. And I know a lot of you are probably familiar with something like this. So, right, design-led thinking where which is very important. We use this concept, we use this in practice a lot also in our world, where effectively, you empathize, you try to understand the consumer, you try to go through the process of alignment with customer and so on, and, you define the problem, then you ideate solutions, you try to tackle it from different angles, you quickly get to a prototype, you test, and then, you go on and on again. And it's beautiful and it's elegant. We use it a lot, it's wonderful. However, what if I told you that the reality, if you really zoom out of it and you think about the innovation that we do need to create from a systems perspective, it's not incremental, it's breakthrough. So from my experience, I think it looks a little bit more like this. And, well, I wouldn't even be there to begin to describe it, but, there's just so much going on in any one sort of, how would I say, process where you're trying to get from effectively a zero concept to something successful from a deployment perspective. Particularly when it's not just design, but it's actually technology that you work with, which is a lot of times our case. There's just so many things that are coming at you, right? So one, of course, you might say that's strategy, and I talked a lot about strategy, for example, and it's important. And strategy gives you vision, and gives you direction, and gives you focus. I would argue a lot of times it's really this mess of a creative process that actually gives probably more back to strategy and informs it, so that relationship is quite interesting and important. You have idea, there's a lot of them, but the minute it starts to get traction with a customer, the minute you start investing into it as a corporate, obviously the speed of the clock gets faster, and all of a sudden you find yourself that you are running basic R&D, but at the same time commercializing and thinking of operations, and all of that needs to happen at scale. At some point, your CFO comes and calling, where's the money, where's the return on investment? And so all of that is a huge creative mess, right, that effectively you need to basically go through. And there are setbacks because things don't work, disappointments, there's a lot of disbelief, especially when you're going for breakthrough. And so for me, in that reality, what makes it actually succeed is a little bit of that red line or the orange line, and I'd call it extraordinary teams. I'll get back to it. I'll get back to what actually contributes to the factors of extraordinary teams, particularly when it comes to the breakthrough. But I'll give you a couple of examples of what we've lived through as we try to stand up our innovation efforts over the past less than 10 years. So for us, I mentioned it's a systems problem, and the innovation that we do, we of course tackle quite a bit on the collection, on the recycling side, because we are not just satisfied with making something recyclable, we want to ensure that it is. We also work quite a bit on material science, but we also work on the technology platforms. So for us, we do stand up 4 different technology platforms. One of them is molded fiber, and I'll speak a little bit to the story that we have there. So molded fiber is, how would I describe it? It's essentially fiber, it's a mesh, it looks like a porridge, right? And mixed with water, and the idea is to essentially build a rigid pack out of that porridge effectively, right? And do it effectively. By definition, it's a null technology. You can find, for example, you can find the application in your egg packaging. So the eggs you get from the shop shelves are often made with this type of technology, and you see it's a very ruggedy box, not exactly precise. So that's the old technology. It's been around for many, many years. And effectively with us, we've always been in egg packaging for a very long time. It's an established industry, established technology. And back about 8 years ago, when the wave of effectively plastic consciousness started to engulf Europe in particular, our team who worked on maintaining that technology had what at the time seemed like an absolutely crazy idea. Why don't we apply the principles of that technology to actually substitute rigid plastics in food much more broadly? And nobody believed. Everybody thought, well, look, come on, you're talking about fairly complex shapes, fairly complex, high precision items. And, this is a technology that produces within, 5 to 10 centimeter, perhaps, precision. So how can you get it ever right? And especially at scale, especially cost effectively. The team did not give up. They were absolutely driven by the mission of making something sustainable. And they've picked up, or somehow a client came along. It was one of the UK retailers who at a time was thinking, well, our ready meal trays are actually incredibly not sustainable. They're getting a lot of publicity around that. They're made from black plastic that doesn't get detected in the recycling. They needed to do something about that. And great minds come together, and the innovation is born. And so our innovators, the technology guys, came together with a customer, pulled in an interested supplier of chemistry, supplier of fiber, and worked for some years on developing a perfect ready meal tray. And what's interesting about this innovation is that, it looks simple, you have a picture here, but it needs to fulfill a lot of high demand qualities. It needs to be able to not, soak the food through. So, if it's made of fiber, it's by definition soakable, right? So how do you make that work? It needs to behave well in an oven, in a microwave. It needs to be great to the touch of the user. And it also needs to work throughout the supply chains of basically packing stations. So there's a lot of intricacy that goes into the design, into thinking, into calibrating this type of products. And somehow one thing came to another. There was a lot of disbelief, but the team got it together, pushed through, and eventually came to a product like this with the feedback from the customer that it was absolutely perfect and incredible. And the only negative was that it looks even better than the plastic original, that we can't tell that it's actually a sustainable option. In any case, there were, of course, a lot of money put into this, a lot of hope already at that time. After a lot of back and forth, and calibration was a very, very painful process. And here we were, about to conquer the world of ready meals. And then, effectively, we came across a very simple fact that the industry at large was not yet ready for this product. It was too expensive, and even though we could do it at a scale, there were so many SKUs, and you couldn't just make it work. So a great innovation about to have come to a complete failure. Interestingly enough, the team did not give up, or by some perhaps luck or determination. At a time, the QSR, or quick service restaurant industry, started picking up on the, or getting a lot of publicity in the rigid plastic lids. And so we picked up, or we were basically known for the fact that we were able to perfect this kind of technology. We were picked up by McDonald's to work on their fiber lids. You see the picture here, the real one, so this is still a prototype, the real one is much more intricate. Again, with a lot of disbelief, but we've taken this on with the team has taken this on, which was even more demanding product. And we could have looked at the tray and at the investment as a complete failure, but actually what that allowed us to do was to shorten the development time for the lid, redeploy that technology, perfect it even more, get to even higher precision. And this was an incredible offtake and a success story. So what next? We continue to develop this technology. It's become one of our major platforms. We call it a high-precision molded fiber technology platform. And next, now under works, we have a number of products that actually have precision within a fraction of a millimeter. So that's how far the technology was able to be perfected. Of course, there's lots of work still to be done, but it's ultimately sky's the limit. Again, so this was a very, very messy process of back and forth, of failure, of working with multiple different suppliers, customers, changing opinions, and now it's become a major step in our strategy. So that's the story, and all of that is less than 10 years. If I dare to make any takeaways from this experience, from making that mess work and seeing that red or orange line, and please bear with me, this is really just first reflections. I would say when you undertake something like this, particularly in the packaging industry, and innovation is about breakthrough in our world where we really need to make sustainability work. It's a lot of it, of course, is about processes and models and organization and leadership and just base managerial aspects. That is very, very important. But I would say what is much more important is perhaps what makes the soul, the character of that operation, what really makes the extraordinary teams click. And I think, Lisa, you've spoken a little bit to that, so it's really missionaries, not mercenaries. I would go a little bit deeper. To me, it's probably 4 things, and they're kind of contradictory. So one is sort of, having that clarity of vision and focus, being absolutely determined. So it's that one product, it's that one tray, right, that we really want to make work. But at the same time, having the flexibility to change. Look, all kinds of things come at you, customers, corporate culture, what have you. So having the flexibility to maneuver that, but at the same time staying true to your vision and focus is absolutely critical. Being open-minded and welcoming diversity, and not just gender or cultural diversity, but diversity of different professional angles and aspects is absolutely crucial. Some of the meetings, some of the development work we've sat on both the tray and the lid, and later on, have been like war zones. So opinions, perspectives flying around, people misunderstanding each other, but it's really beautiful stuff that comes out of it. So embracing that, welcoming, and not shying away is super important. But at the same time, also being decisive. So once the argument is out, once we've really tackled that, making those decisions to move forward in very imperfect situations is super critical. Thinking big and thinking systems. For us, it's a systems problem. We're here to substitute plastics. We're here to really make the world a better place. But at the same time, being very specific. It's that one product at a time. It's that one category to focus on. And my biggest learning and my biggest takeaway is loving to fail. So not being afraid to fail, but actually loving to fail. It's good, it's okay, it's fine. But at the same time, not accepting that failure and being able to pivot out very, very fast and taking the learnings and using what you already got, the great work that you've already invested for the next stage, the next leap of faith of the development. So these are just a couple of reflections. I'm more than happy to speak more to it and answer any questions.
Thank you, Marina. I think we are a bit behind the schedule. I propose you all remember the questions you have in mind, and you will be able to present those questions to Marina after a break. So about 10 minutes break now, and take all your stuff from the chairs. We're going to rearrange a bit also in the audience part. So let's be back here 4:10. 4:10. 10 minutes break. Thank you.
struggle, rather physical, sometimes also emotional. Like right now here. Your physique.
Myself trying. books of old, the legends and the myths, Achilles and his gold, Hercules and his gifts, and Spider-Man's control, and Batman with his fist. And clearly I don't see myself upon that list. But she said, where'd you wanna go? How much you wanna risk? I'm not looking for somebody with some superhuman gifts, some superhero, some fairy tale bliss, just something I can turn to, somebody I can kiss. I want something just like this. Do-do-do, do-do-do, oh, I want something just like this. Do-do-do, oh, I want something just like this. I want something just like this. I've been reading books of old, the legends and the myths, the testaments they told, the moon and its eclipse, and Superman unrolls the suit before he lives.
So please take the outer chairs, except the keynote speakers and the sparring students. They take the inner circle. Yeah, so two empty chairs between, so you know finish. Are we all ready? Not yet. So please take the seats here. Please take the seats.
Mira, can I ask you to jump to the...
Is it on purpose?
Where'd you wanna go? How much you wanna risk? I'm looking for somebody with some superhuman gifts, some superhero, some fairy tale bliss.
So we are ready to start, and on the screen you see actually the voting or the results of the QR. We had a QR code. We had some questions for the audience. They were selecting the most, the main challenges they see. The bigger is the font, of course, the biggest is a challenge, so you can take a reflection if you want. But now we start, and actually there's a man who knows how this goes.
Okay, so yeah, this is what we call fishbowl-ish, and the idea here is that we can see there's a center circle, and it's good for dialogue. So we wanted to break a bit of this kind of audience and the stage panelist thing, and there's a few things going on. So first of all, we have the panelists you're aware of, but then we have three wonderful students here. Can you guys very quickly just introduce who are you, maybe what do you study, and yeah, what's your passion in life?
Do you want to start?
Yeah, I can start. So my name is Miran. I study manufacturing, additive manufacturing, and I was PDP student last year. What makes me happy? Maybe some free time at this point. Yeah.
Okay, my name is Anni. I'm fourth year marketing student, and I would say I'm passionate about creative things and arts.
Hi everyone, I'm Daniel, and I am a mechanical engineering student at the master's level. I like sunshine.
Okay, so then what will happen, you notice that we have actually two empty chairs. And our good audience, those are for you guys. So the idea is that we already, the students have some ideas, and they've been listening to the talks and come up with good questions, so they can initiate some of the conversation. We have, of course, our expert company representatives here, and they, of course, have things to say. I would highly encourage you guys to also ask each other questions, because we want to have a dialogue. There's no way you guys agree on everything. So we want to hear the kind of a bit of challenging of ideas or bring alternative perspectives to each other. But then also our wonderful audience probably has some questions or ideas, thoughts to bring into the dialogue. And what you can do is whenever there's an empty seat in the center, you can get up and join the circle and join the conversation. Ask your questions, and the idea is that it's not just a question, but like a normal conversation, it's about active listening. Is that what you meant? Okay, can you tell a bit more about this? So you can actually have a few more back and forth than maybe in a traditional Q&A setting. And then once you kind of feel like your interest area or the kind of conversation you wanted to have in the circle is done, you can get up and join back to the outer circle, and that leaves someone else room to join in and participate in the conversation. Does this all sound clear to you? Okay. Okay, in that case, I'm gonna take a step back. My job is done. And you guys have an opportunity for discussion. It's all yours.
Should I start? Do you want to start? Right, so I guess my role here was to kind of oppose you in some sense. I have some notes. I can have a look what I've written here. Right, well, the first thought I had about the presentation, thank you for the presentation, by the way, is related to kind of the problem definition. So we have this idea of replacing plastics with more sustainable materials. But sometimes you hear discussion about there being kind of a fine line between plastic and, let's say, paper products when it comes to sustainability. Like sometimes in the quantities that we want to produce and the price and so forth, looking at the whole life cycle, maybe plastic products are more sustainable than the paper alternatives. And maybe if you could talk about how you take that into account.
I think that's an excellent question, and a very important one. I spoke a lot about fiber technologies, which are all about replacing plastic, but I think the benefit, but also perhaps the curse a little bit of being a global company like ours, and operating in so many different environments is exactly the conundrum that you just raised. Fiber is not necessarily the best solution. It's not the cheapest. Many times it's actually plastics, and we do operate very large plastics business. We do believe plastics is essential, particularly to food. But it doesn't mean we shouldn't innovate. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to make it. It can be sustainable. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It can be recyclable. A lot of times it is not today, particularly when it comes to the food packaging. The challenge is to protect food. What you do is you glue many different types of plastic together, sometimes padded with metal, sometimes padded with paper, which serves incredible role and adds a lot of value in preserving food, but is essentially absolutely non-recyclable. So the other piece of innovation that we do is actually working on making this what we call high performance, high barrier structures recyclable. So we do believe that plastic has a role to play, and to your point, it's much cheaper and much more accessible in many circumstances. But it's not to say that the job is done. And so, sort of to take it back, because the debate around sustainability is so complex. It's not just about plastic versus fiber. It's about what's the best material for a given purpose, for a given application, in a given geography, right? Because the infrastructures are also, again, it's a systems problem, right? And so for us, if we do want to be relevant, it's important to take a very, I would say, material agnostic, right, and more sort of a purpose-driven approach. So hopefully that resolves a little bit. It's not either or. It's both, but both more sustainable.
Yeah, it seems like a common thread, this kind of balancing act throughout all of the speeches, actually. I feel like there's always kind of various factors that you need to consider, kind of opposites of the same argument. Yeah, thanks for the answer.
Yeah, that's a thing with product development. It's not easy. I mean, there's things and factors, and you have also the interesting fact, like you said, that the customer cultures are very different and the systems around them. That's an interesting fact.
Is my mic on? Yes. So one of the kind of plastic versus paper approaches that we used to kind of deal with was that actually when you're delivering packaging through every single corner of the world, paper is a better material just because not every corner of the world has even proper infrastructure for waste. That's why paper is easily available in every corner of the world for production. It wastes away if it's not treated properly in a waste infrastructure. That's why kind of without doing the kind of calculations, we at Nokia kind of ended up doing paper-based packaging already from the very beginning.
Thank you. Pretty interesting conversations. A thought came to my mind when you were talking about packaging, for example, was that, okay, we have heard about how products could be ahead of their time, but do you think that even packaging can be ahead of its time? In terms of, for example, function or the material use?
Definitely. So it represents its time. That's what you mean.
Sorry?
Packaging represents its time. That's what you mean.
Oh, yeah, it could represent it or it could also be ahead of it. Yes.
Oh, ahead of its time. Right. Well, I go into my first picture first because I thought that you were asking if packaging reflects its time. If you think of kind of what Apple packaging did for all of the packing industry. So once they came with their mobile phone packaging, they became a benchmark. They still are a benchmark for any high-end packaging. So definitely kind of packaging reflects its time. Can it be ahead of its time?
What if you try to be like, let's say you made very green packaging, but it was, I don't know, 15 years ago when that wasn't really something that would sell very well. Have you experienced this where kind of
I think at least one of the problems with packaging is that it's a low-cost commodity. So for it to be ahead of its time, it's going to be difficult business-wise. Like in your tray example, it was ahead of its time and it was too early, right? I'll let you continue.
I think that's exactly it. The answer is yes, and that's something, and that mess of a process, if I may, that's something that you need to consciously manage, right? And sometimes you overlook. It's very easy actually to be ahead of your time because it is, Ulla, to your point, it's a commodity, right? It's low cost and you need to drive the cost out, right? And so also the propensity to switch, right? So the customer you work with, they made up their mind, come hell or high water. But what about others, right? It's tied to, especially if you're in food like us, it's tied to packaging systems, right? Huge installed bases. I mean, think about cans, for example. Why do we have still cans today, right? Although from transportation perspective, sustainability perspective is not that great, even cost, right? Because we have that huge installed base of, canning machines, right? And so there would be a lot of great ideas that we already have, for example, to, maybe go even after that market. But it's very easy to be ahead of your time, right? Because that propensity to switch in a commodity space is very high. So yes, unfortunately, and it's something that needs to be consciously managed.
Then related to cans, an interesting topic was this EU regulation about bottles, how all of a sudden almost kind of our lovely Tetra Pak paper-based packaging was supposed to kind of fade away because of EU regulation, but luckily they changed that, I think.
For the time being.
Yes. So I would like to ask Lisa, I'm curious, how do you make a decision about choosing the right packaging for your products?
It's done in the project team, again, like all other decisions. And the mechanics designer is like the key person in that. But everybody gives feedback, and it's also, there are some like hard technical things that need to be considered. For example, that the product has to tolerate certain tests, that it's dropped from 1 meter height in its package, and it needs to be still measuring correctly. So because we ship all over the world in this package, so it has to tolerate that. Then it has to somehow go with the brand of the company, so it has to look like a Vaisala package, and then in manufacturing wise, it has to be easy to manufacture and put together the inside parts of it, so that it's not like this crazy origami that somebody works on for minutes. And those are maybe the basic requirements, if I think of them. And then now we also, like, sustainability is one new angle into, I think, every product development project everywhere in every single company, and we are also looking through our packages, like could they be more sustainable, and that's again a new factor to think about.
And just to follow up regarding your products, what kind of aspects do you take in terms of sustainability? And then do you do any life cycle assessment, and does it affect your product development from the beginning?
Yes, we do, but what's interesting about Vaisala products is like our products have a massive sustainability handprint typically. So if you think how our products are used, these measurement instruments, they are used either in the weather observations, they are used to protect societies from extreme weather, which is like a typical phenomena of global warming. So, you know, the weather data helps us to keep people safe, infrastructure safe, operate renewable energy sites in like decent weather and all of that. Or then on the industrial side, these measurement instruments, they help our customers to keep their processes running as they should, save energy, not spend too much like materials and all of that. So I think as a company, our big contribution to the society is the handprint. But now, of course, we are also looking into the footprint. We can't hide away from that. And in the last years, we have really been looking more into it, and we have also, as a company, joined, I don't know if you guys have seen this science-based target initiatives, maybe Huhtamäki, you guys have it too, huh? Yeah, so that's like a common framework of many companies joining and publicly announcing that they will try to do their part in keeping the Paris commitment of 1.5 degrees, and that means that bringing the footprint of your product down. And related to that, yes, we do life cycle assessments, big or small, a little bit depending on product. Sometimes the project group looks into the subject themselves and tries to see that could there be material choices or power consumption regulation by software or things like that. And in some cases we've also like gone into like component level, very, very deep data sets to try to understand it better. So it's definitely now more important for us as well, and we're in the learning process, I would say, on the footprint side of it.
Thank you.
So I think in one way or another, in all of the talks you guys had, there was some aspect about this learning from failures or failing fast or embracing. I want to go super concrete. Can each of you kind of talk about some very concrete process or like almost a codified thing in your organizations where you make sure that this happens, that people can actually embrace failure and have a safe space or are awarded for that or something? What do you do on a concrete level?
In every project we do this kind of lessons learned, and that's a kind of a, did Ari say autopsy, something like that? I think it was a similar idea that they had. That's but maybe in our case, it's kind of part of every project, and it's been like that for a very long time. That okay, the team gets together for a day and they think about all that went well, but all that they learned and all that they failed with, and then document that, and that's like shared to everyone, and we try to then use those as we start new projects. That comes to my mind as a concrete thing.
So is there like a specific checklist, or do you have like or is it more like talking and recording that?
Yeah, there is like this template that is like supposed to be helpful for keeping that discussion, that so that it would cover the many aspects of it. But I think in practice, it's kind of a pretty open dialogue. But it needs to take place in every project, so we don't just forget it.
I'm not speaking about your company, but I have heard that it might be part of the process, but often it's left out, not done because it would be too painful for everybody.
I wonder what company that was.
No names.
No names. Okay.
I think, to your point, wash-ups help, but they're painful, right? And sometimes you just want to kind of run on. In our case, I think it's less codified and more about the culture. It's a tolerant culture. We do push ourselves to really dare and really deliver, and that's and especially in innovation, we deal with technology, right? So you already start putting investments right before you and it's an understanding that you do it on the best efforts basis, right? Everybody goes all in. But at the same time, it's not letting the innovation be. You have the checks and balances. You have those discussions, so you can also evaluate when you pull the plug, so to say, right? So it's more really that culture, and then it's never really firing anyone for failing. So yes, we failed, but the capability, the learnings is there. Let's figure out the next thing that we can do. So I think a lot of it is cultural, and I hope we can keep it that way.
Yeah. If you look at, for example, Hofstede and what he's not Hofstede, the iceberg model, losing the. Anyways, the idea behind culture, it's not what you say, it's what you do, and there are certain actions or processes reinforce culture.
Exactly.
So you say culture is a big thing. So how do you ensure that this culture exists? Like, what do you do to create it?
Oh gosh. It's the behaviors of the leadership, right? So it starts with the top and engagement, and I think in a company like ours, it has been very flat, and we try to keep it that way even though we grow. It's really that engagement. It's also being very, very clear about your values. We talk a lot about the values. We've codified those values with a simple language, and we talk about that in every team. Everywhere we operate. So there's something probably about that, but I'm happy to be challenged by my colleagues.
Maybe a different view from an agency point of view and from a very small company. So of course, kind of in an agency mode, you need to use resources efficiently. But what we do is that we kind of have more junior and more senior designers, and we encourage them to speak to each other, and we have our kind of own prototyping capability. So when we're designing very concrete things like packaging, we can go immediately into the prototyping, we can cut samples, and then we can go into kind of our collegial group and have discussions, and we encourage in our kind of weekly meetings that, hey, let's go through what are the problems. That's just the basic culture that we have had in our concrete work.
Okay, can I ask you all about the Aura line? So I was thinking about the luxury packaging itself, because like in my experience, luxury is something that comes with the desirability and status and can be in a sense justified, the purchase for the customer, maybe company or then the end customer, whereas premium would be maybe something that can be like justified with the quality and other properties. So how would you elaborate more on what makes your packaging luxury and not, for example, premium?
Because we went into luxury fairs and not premium fairs, we decided that we need to kind of target for the highest possible margin, and that's why we started saying that it's luxury. It's of course premium as well. Unfortunately, that's just the concrete reason for it. Yeah, and I think that our packaging, like if you look at Suunto sports watches, where we did the renewal of the packaging, it could easily go into that one. It's not really a luxury product. It's a high-end product, and it could use that type of packaging as well.
And then I was thinking that about the target customers. How do you often like reach them? Or do you like go for the bigger brands? Or do you aim to have as your customers, for example, smaller like starter luxury brands, which might not have very strongly established brand image already? Or how do you pick your customers, or do you pick them? Or
so with the new innovation?
Yeah, with the Aura line.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're still in the middle of kind of making the business model. What we were first saying that based on the feedback from the fairs, Monaco and Milan, we want to license directly to the brand owners, because then we can kind of, in a way, trust that the license fees are going to pay and so on. But then when we discussed with a lawyer, he was proposing that why would you go into kind of individual brands, because kind of once you pick a trusted supplier for those brands, then you can kind of get away with just kind of one license agreement, because license agreements are anyway complex and take a lot of time. So that's why we're kind of nowadays just looking into potential trusted packaging suppliers for luxury brands or premium brands as well.
Yeah, because I would imagine then that the brands really want to have the packaging as a like meaningful part of the whole brand image. So then the fit like has to be right for both of you, and then you can also showcase the like correct brands that are under this packaging line.
But then we also figured out kind of brands who said that, oh, it's nice, but it's not luxury enough. Those were the Swiss watch brands. So if you want to sell kind of 100,000 euro, our packaging is not enough. So we still have targets to go higher in the packaging experience.
Interesting, thank you.
I'm wondering if anyone is able to explain or elaborate the question, why are we here? Why do we even need to be here? Why is product development so invisible? Is it too gray? Is it too boring? Is it not, that important? I can leave my share so that someone from the outer circle can comment as well.
Well, look, for us, it's innovate or die. It's as simple as that, right? I mean, we're a packaging company unless we're able to make our packaging completely sustainable, right? In the broadest sense of that word, we're no longer going to be relevant. And it's broader than that. There's the purpose of just how do we define how we create value? It's not just the customers, it's not just the shareholders, but it's also people and the planet, right? So there's a bit of that. Now that we're in this space, it's really only via product development, via innovation that we can, get out of it. So it's mission critical in that sense. I don't know if that answers the question.
I can answer
a little
the
bit of
question.
light.
You've ever been in a meeting and there's like gazillion really good ideas? Like, oh, we should do that. Oh, we should put a carpet to make the acoustics better. Well, product development makes it happen in a company. That's why you need to have people with that mindset. That's why you need diversity. So, people, when they hear an idea, they know how to do it, or at least are curious or interested enough, or are fed up enough in some cases, that they would actually, put their time, put their passion, take away time and money and whatever to make it happen. That's why. That's why I believe why. Because Steve Jobs looked at shitty computers and decided that maybe not only people who do math in a cellar of CERN want a computer. Maybe, someone else wants to draw something nice. That's why. But I would like to actually ask the question, because you had a really nice slide with the contradicting parts of product development. And I really love that. And I don't think it's only about product development. I think it's essential for being like a good human. It's like that, balancing between
I'm glad
the
you see the
two.
value.
Balancing between, really laser focused to actually get shit done, but at the same time, really looking at the holistic problems. at the whole like a system problem of packaging and environmental issues and so on. And it's heavy. It takes determination. It takes, you know, it takes nerves, you know, and if you choose that line of work, maybe you can do it when you're 20, maybe when you're 30, but you know, life changes. So my question is, how do you guys maintain that in your companies? How do you keep that? Because at least for me, one of the most important factors for a good product developer, for a person, is to be able to question everything all the time, but at the same time actually being able to do stuff to get, you know, get through the week. And it's hard. So how do you make that happen? There's no right answers. There's just, I'm curious. Like, how do you support people in that?
There's a couple of pros, luckily, in that work. I agree that it's very heavy and it requires a certain type of character from an individual to work with product development. But the good thing is that it's never the same. That in many other professions around, like when you're 50 plus, you've like seen this same financial cycle and the same HR things, you know, more or less come through every year. But in product development, you're always in the next project, and maybe for example, in our scale, it's big enough that people say that when I change a project, I feel like sometimes I've changed the company, that, you know, they're so different, the challenges and so on. So definitely what keeps, I think, most of us ticking in product development is that it's a profession where you always learn like new things, and new things come along. So that's definitely a big pro in this domain. But I think you are right that it's in many ways heavy, and the feeling I get from people working in product development in my team, that many of them are like highly devoted to working for the company and highly devoted to working with their excellent colleagues, and that's kind of who they reference to. They don't work for managers. Like, they could think that managers come and go, in all honesty. They are there. They have somehow this like really meaningful connection to the team and then the company itself. And that I find interesting.
So these would be missionaries?
I guess they're the missionaries, yeah, at the same time. Yeah.
I think the experts in the product development are developing themselves. So that the individuals that want to learn more, they are curious to know more, so they are kind of on the same wave than the work itself. That you are developing something, but actually you are developing yourself. You're learning, and I think that's a fantastic world to live with. And I think, going back to Eeto's question, we are here because of product development. I don't know who is the product developer, but evolution made us. But we're still on kind of developing as a human beings in the planet. So we are results of product development, 2.something, or I don't know. I have a question regarding also to Ari's presentation, but also, Marina, you referred that you said that it's a conventional business and a conventional industry, the packaging industry. Ari also said that 2019, I can imagine customers saying, your product is bad. So do you always need to have a crisis to make a change? What is the way to make an intervention? Because you have to break the conventional organizational structures. There's also a shadow structure behind people. There's a corporate structure that might be very conventional too. But what are the practical tools to get an intervention, not crisis, but an intervention? Okay, you can lose a job, and then you establish a company. But what are the means to make an intervention to break the thing that always have been the same? Because I have been in Saturday business in 17 years. We have been bought and ordered many projects that where we bring the intervention part, and we have just realized it afterwards. But what are the other tools to make this intervention in a positive way, a structured way, towards the new direction?
Like, I think it's the biggest question, isn't it? Right? It's this sort of problem of becoming too comfortable. Right? That's what potentially kills the companies. I'm kind of biased a little bit to say that crisis does help, right? And like, what is that saying? Never let a good crisis go kind of wasted, right? So there's a bit of that, and I think that's happened to us and to a lot of the packaging companies. I'd be curious to hear your view, right? You mentioned you have some experience, right? But I don't pretend to have an answer, but I think having people who are a little bit to this question, right, are kind of, heavy thinkers and not satisfied with the status quo and whose job it is to challenge helps. Strategy departments can play that role. The sort of professional, the kind of people who ask the difficult questions and, keeping that close to the executive teams, keeping that close to the CEOs so that not to get too comfortable, right? That helps. But how to make that much more institutional, I don't know. I think the jury's still out, but perhaps having that at least in the top of the company is helpful. But I'd be also curious to hear your views and maybe some of the other views.
Can I just say, comment on that kind of scrutinizing, let's say. I think every student here who's doing PDP or has done PDP has at some point come across this kind of dynamic in the group where stuff is being scrutinized excessively, right? So again, maybe there's a question here of a balancing act. When is there too much scrutiny? The Nokia example of their kind of hurdle, to me, it seemed like a very similar problem in the sense that they were branching out. They had all these different projects, and they couldn't keep up the most important one. So there's this kind of, well, you're branching out and looking for new things, but that's taking away resources which perhaps should be prioritized. So similarly, maybe scrutinizing excessively instead of just committing and getting stuff done, so to speak. So yeah, any thoughts on that?
I don't know if it's on that one, but just regarding the development and kind of forcing the development to happen in a regular system, kind of my years at Nokia were such that I had a very good boss. We had a very good strategy organization, and kind of it almost felt forced. But every year we went through and we kind of interpreted the kind of updated strategy into kind of local, your own business area strategies, and or kind of it wasn't of course strategy, it was kind of supporting the company strategy, and then we interpreted that into development activities, and some of them were forced and fake and everything, but some of them were really, really good, and that kind of forced the development to happen in our team in a regular basis.
I think the business environment plays a big role here also, that if you're in a growth company, there is that possibility to try new things, and you have the possibility to recruit a lot of new people, and new people always bring change with them, even without a crisis. Just the fact that there's a healthy turnover of personnel and new ideas coming in kind of makes it so much easier, and I'm sure that's something that Nokia experienced quite a lot at the time that you were there, and it's been something that at some point definitely I've been experiencing myself at Vaisala, that somehow the whole thing gets into this positive tornado that anything seems possible, and then if the company is in a bad spot for a long time, then it's this turmoil goes to the other direction. You start to lose the best people, the biggest challengers, or you start to fight for just the basic resources for keeping up that maybe your crown jewel at the correct level, or you start as a company to look at R&D as a cost only, instead of like this is the main driver of business and that type of thing. So I think it's fair to say that it's really important to have that basic good growth business and good profitability for research and development, to not be seen only through money, which is on somebody picked it there too. It is a challenge if the environment is very tough, honestly.
I would actually maybe, if I may, I would challenge, to me, I think proliferation of too many projects and sort of loss of focus, I would say that that's, I would even go as far as to say that that can actually be a symptom of not challenging enough, not prioritizing. So having that formal dialogue, like you mentioned, once a year or a quarter, whatever that is, let's actually take an inventory of everything we're doing. Does it still make sense? There's only this much money and time and resources that we have. What is the best use of that, right? Where can we get the highest payback, not just in monetary terms, but the future on the limited resources and capacity that we have? And forcing that dialogue is tough, but necessary, if I may. Sorry, you had a question.
No, I was just adding, this sounds pretty much like politics. When you have good times, then you have all the missionaries jumping up, and then when you have bad times, the mercenaries come out, and suddenly everybody sees just threats everywhere, and then there's a central Fed that tries to kind of raise and lower interest rates to kind of balance this out so that there would be too much innovation or too little. Exactly. Kind of same problems with governments and bosses.
Human nature, yeah.
And I was just like going to talk a little bit more about, for example, what you just mentioned, and also what you just mentioned about how they should look at resources and money and stuff as side things, and that kind of like sometimes not like kind of hinders like research and development in different companies. But like, for example, in a business like packaging, which is so highly dependent, as you mentioned, on the existing infrastructure, like the cans industry and the established molds and everything. How does like research and development then work in your companies? Like, do you tell them that, okay, always be aware of this, of these existing resources, or do you give them wings to like fly and look at new possible alternatives? Where's the balance?
Sorry to say this, but this is the last question and the last answers. Sorry.
Well, it's a tough one, right? I think we operate under the principle. So again, we're in a very thin margin business, right? That's packaging. So for us, being focused, making those bets, and you're going all in and sort of beating the dead man is very, very. But at the same time, knowing when to stop. So we try to give freedom, but not too much freedom. So keeping that focus. So if we committed to develop that tray, yes, we will develop that tray until, that's. So there's a little bit of that, and really trying to keep it real, keep it focused. But at the same time, then asking the question, okay, what else can come kind of related to the space or to challenge the space? So somehow having that connection rather than just, letting the team loose on all possible fronts. Because if we do that, it becomes unsustainable. We're not going to be able to support the innovation that we have. So it's a bit of a balancing act. It's giving the freedom, but tying that to some purpose, some direction that we've chosen to go in. Probably doesn't answer your question, right? But it's sort of what we're trying to do, partially intuitively, partially by how we structure some of the work.
I can maybe fill in a little bit from my point of view that at least in our company, where we have like the full chain of very early technology development, like scientists work on new measurement materials or something like that, all the way of bringing this product to the market that is a combination, like you saw, of electronics, mechanics, and everything, and manufacturing capability full for the whole world, all regulations, approvals received, and that. So I think it's a little bit different game in which life cycle area you are, that in the early science, I think you should have a lot of like open-ended ideas that you haven't totally confirmed yet the business cases, and you don't know. You have to have this kind of, if you want to be like science-based, really bringing something really dramatic to the market in next 10, 20 years, then you have to have the freedom, and you shouldn't over-regulate. But then, and usually those early science ideas, it's only maybe 1 or 2 people working, so it doesn't cost that much to the company also, but it can open something really disruptive. But then when you go further into the product development, you start binding more resources. You have these 10 people working, it's like 100,000 every month, and then you have to have a solid like business case analysis that we do believe this will pay out. So in a way, you can have a different set of rules depending on where in the technology development life cycle you are.
Sponsor of this year's PDX, and also after your some conclusions, we have an announcement together with Eetu and Juhan. But please.
Thank you, Pekka. So we are a tech. I'm the director of our public affairs, and we are a society of over 80,000 science, tech, and engineering professionals and students with background from these research universities. And of course, that's why I'm here and why we are sponsoring this, because our members are the ones who are doing and leading product development in Finland, pretty much. So I had lots of like notes here from all of your wonderful speech keynotes, and I think the best thing was the rest of the discussion we have here. But maybe I said just a couple of things I think we were everybody thinking here. One was, of course, the sustainability, how we make the world better, and that's really responsible of our product developers, because we are kind of like, we messed up the world and now we have to fix it, basically. And other one who are doing this, and this is really happy to say, because we are presenting the people. So it's not in the companies, it's the people, and it's really important. How do you lead them? How do you let them find their ways to do this? I found really wonderful this, like love to fail fast, but still not accepting the failure. You need to have the partners and customers to work along you. That's really important. It's not just your own people. And I think this is what I pick up from Ari, is that like, you need to keep the focus and stay with the fundamentals. And something that you were discussing here about the crisis and something like that, I think this comes pretty much into decision making and how good are people making the decisions. So it might be pretty much easier making decisions when you have to make the decisions, but how you making the decisions in the time when it's not necessary kind of way, and that's how you, I think the constant development here, that we need to make the right decisions, and if we make the wrong decisions, it's not bad, but we have to fix it, and I think here we are together making the world better. Thank you. Smile. Smile.